Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. How you doing? Hey friendos, it's DW here, coming at you live here on the live stream or the YouTube live stream. And tonight, we got a bit of hype. Tonight is a 2-hour tech spike on GDevelop. I said I owed you a stream, GDevelop community, and you're getting it tonight. It's all planned out. We got a game idea. We're going to prototype it. I have no idea what well, I have a bit of an idea of what I'm doing, but not a lot of an idea. Coming in moderately cold, but I got a plan. And the plan is everything. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get into that warm up here in a sec. I'm just going to actually open up OneNote where I keep all of my notes, because that would have been a good idea to do before, you know, I started streaming. But alas, here we are. I come back and go into the basement. And so I thought it'd be cool to make a game called Out the Door. And the whole idea is to get up and get a couple of things done that get assigned to you, and then get out the door, get to the work. Nothing spectacular. We can build content as we go. Now, tonight's stream is going to see if we can use GDevelop to just build that scaffolding. Okay? That's where we're going to start. And by that, I see it as a top-down 2D tile RPG style kind of thing. So think Final Fantasy for the Super Nintendo, that whole top-down kind of mechanic. I have an asset pack, which I'll drag over, that we're going to leverage for graphics. You can see here, it's a little kitchen set. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to build this. We're going to build a kitchen. I want to see if we can build a kitchen, if we can get something moving around, and like something a player can actually move around in there, like a north, south, east, west style movement. And if we've got some time to it, I want to leverage the dialogue system that's built in. So a lot of what we're doing tonight, we're going to do some of the basics. That's the tiled graphic stuff. But then I want to get into this whole world of GDevelop extensions, and that's stuff like mouse input and controller input and stuff like that. That's where my head's at. So, and then leverage these extensions that GDevelop has for pretty much everything. They even have a dialogue system that leverages Yarn, which is super cool because I'm used to Inky and Ink.js, but I'm used to Ink script, and Yarn is the alternative to that for me. You know, they both have their pros and cons. This gives me an opportunity to kind of do some of that. So there's a lot of coolness woven into GDevelop, and I am fascinated by it. The community. Let's check our beautiful. Oh, I got all these windows open. I'm breaking all the stuff. I'm breaking all the stuff, y'all. Basic concepts, behaviors, events, all other features. Collisions, dialogue. See, this is the stuff I want to get into. But I want a map. I want a map first. I should be able to make a map somehow. Tank shooter. Now, part of me is thinking that like my thing here might be to just create a bunch of tiles. I was just kind of hoping to create a map. What if I did this? Here's a dumb idea. Because what if I use the tools, like maybe GDevelop doesn't have that built in, like 10-year-old and more Unity and Godot and Unreal. Those things have been around for an eternity. So let's flip this around. Rather than being like, oh, it doesn't have it. Let's empathize and go forward with this. So what I would do is I actually do have a preference for a Tilemap editor. And that is, here we go. My preference for that is, where is my blah, blah, blah. Let's close that. Kitchen more. We're going to go back to itch.io. We're going to look up tiled. Like so. Tiled map editor. Up. And now I have a beautiful tile map. How are we doing on time? We're doing okay. This is a little bit slower. I should have looked into tile maps, because tile maps are a bit wonky in general. So let's save this guy. Save. Export. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually cheat a little bit. We're going to do one quick Google search. This is how we're going to do it. So we're going to do a quick Google search for GDevelop TMX import. We're going to Google it, though, because Bing, well, you know Bing. You know how Bing is sometimes. Sometimes it just ain't doing it. So let's look up. What am I looking up here? GDevelop import TMX. Support for TMX files gone. Tilemap extension was never and not had. GD5 works with the web version included. That's why it's gone. Interesting. So we've got a little baby map here. So far, what we've learned is that, one, we don't have Tilemap support. I should have looked that up. That's my bad. But you know what? It's a bit of a bummer that there's no TMX support. I'll give it that. Considering that it was in the old version, not taking a shot at the developers. This is clearly an open source project. I can contribute that content to, or I could write my own parser for it. Not on this stream. That's totally doable, though, especially in JavaScript for a single game project. Doing it something scalable and rich for an entire game development environment. That's a different sport that I'm not sure that I would want to tackle today. But we were only 30 minutes in, so we've got our map and we've learned something first. So that's good news. We've learned something. What's the next thing we want to learn, though, is the question. The next thing we want to learn is how to get some player control in this. So that's where we're going to go next. And I want to do a search for a new extension. I'm going to look up controller. Gamepads. I want to install this in my project, baby. Let's do it. Great. Well, that was easy. Let's try scaling it. I want to try something that's a little bit more. Maybe I'm missing something on the physics side of this thing. So I'm going to try to see if I'm just getting the input, because the input is kind of important. Let's just multiply it by 2. Okay, go back to kitchen. Close. Redo. Whoa! Okay. That was... So we're getting input, ladies and gents. Perfect. Great. Let's try that. And there we go. We've got motion, although it is painfully slow. Wow, that's slow. Okay. Movement. Top-down movement behavior. There we go. Oh, look at that. There's a behavior for this. See, this is what I mean by, like, I'm missing something. Okay, okay. So look at that. So now, okay, now it's using a decorator pattern, and now it's all kind of coming together. Okay, so this is still movement, but I have a bunch of new movement here. Okay, I see now. So my force idea wasn't a bad one if I was writing it from scratch. But let's... But still not picking up my left control stick, and that's bugging me a lot. Why are you not seeing the left? Is the left this way? I don't know. GDevelop is a very interesting tool. It's cool. And I see the value in it. I can absolutely see why people would go with this. If you are building web-focused games, I got a weird feeling this is where you want to be going. That's not to say I know it supports Windows, Linux, and other platforms. It's JavaScript-based components, though. And from what I can see in that wiki, the change from GDevelop 4 to 5, and I don't know what did that, what sparked that overhaul. But that overhaul, it's missing some like they're still playing some catch up from this 2-hour, almost less than 2-hour review of the tool set. And so what I was hoping to get out of GDevelop today was what I was expecting to get out of Unreal. I got it out of Unity and I got it out of Godot. I was expecting to get kind of handed easily over to... I thought I could translate those... Sorry, a different skill set. I was hoping that I could translate my Unreal, Godot, and Unity skill set over to GDevelop, and that was an unrealistic expectation. Not to say that the tool's not there, but for those tools, when I started a new tool set, I allowed myself the time to learn. I did a Tim Rustwick, let myself be a beginner, did some simple tutorials in areas that I was familiar with. GDevelop, I decided to shoot myself in the foot and not do the tutorials, not let myself be a beginner, and try to prototype a game from the get-go. And that was stupid. That's on me. The tooling's there. Because like I say, if you look at this thing, it says open source codingless game creator. I think this has a great shot at eating something like Game Maker's Toolkit. That's the YouTube channel. Game Maker Studio. Things like Game Maker Studio, Stencil, Construct, right? I think that's in that vein. The fact that it extends into JavaScript code is a huge pro. The downside to this for me is that I've grown up on the stuff that's a little bit more less web-centric and more focused in on the desktop, the old school traditional stuff, right? Godot's been around for a really long time. Unreal and Unity even longer than that, and they've got a lot of funding, so they've got massive momentum, and that's where I started. GDevelop has all these things to get you moving fast, and I thought I was also, and this is maybe my bias, even though I thought I could translate those skills over from the other IDEs, I did expect a codingless game creator to kind of help pick me up and get me there really fast. And maybe I should have done, I clearly should have done some tutorials. That's on me. I clearly should have spent some time exploring the project code a little bit further and understanding it. But, you know, tonight I really wanted to get controller support and Tilemaps working, and I couldn't. Not well, at least. And maybe that's the code. That could be my controller. It could be 1,000 things. So here's the scoop. GDevelop is awesome. It is a great no-code game development tool. It's just not for me. Why is it not for me? One, I don't have time to be the beginner I need to be with this tool set. Two, I jump to code way too quickly, so I start glazing over or glancing over important feature sets. Tonight, I tried to do a tile map along with some collisions, but I didn't get to the collisions part, and controller input with my Xbox gamepad plugged into my Windows 10 device. One, I couldn't actually get the left control stick to work with going the left direction. Might be me, might be the controller, but I could get the other 3 directions working. That's pretty frustrating. Controller input isn't something that I found hard to implement once you find that thing. And once I installed the extension, I kind of expected a little bit more information or some help on how to get it going. And I did do some reading about that beforehand. That one I did spend some time on, and I couldn't figure out what I needed to do. And it wasn't as self-explanatory as I had hoped. But to that point, the reason this isn't for me is really the fact that I don't want to spend the time. As I said, this is my fourth most important thing to me, is the game development side. So I want to be productive faster. And if I can't get something going in 2 hours, I'm not going to keep using it. That is any tool set. It's unfair to compare this to something like Unreal or Unity or Godot, which I've used in the past, because I have sat down and done 2 or 3 hours of tutorials of just exploring it, kind of like I did tonight. The catch is I can make something productive or interesting in about 2 hours in any of those engines. Tonight I couldn't. And it's because of the tool sets I'm familiar with, things like top-down, or not top-down, but rather Tilemaps. That's a big one for me. My graphics side just always leans to that. The fact that I have to hand bomb these levels that way, or there's no Tilemap editor or TMX entry for the tiled editor. You know, I'm not taking a shot at the developers here, You know, it's a funding, it's a time thing. I get it, but you know, that's a feature that I need to move forward. And the controller support really bugged me a lot tonight because that's kind of a gotcha for me. I like my dreams of consoles, so the fact that I couldn't get that left stick working is frustrating, to say the least. Now, like I said, I would use this again. I would recommend this engine to anyone who wants to do something who's not a strong coder, or wants to avoid code altogether. I would use this instantaneously and recommend this. But just for me, it's just not gonna cut it for my prototyping needs. You know, this is the second time I've tried to do one of my little side projects. That's how I work. They may be too advanced for what I'm trying to accomplish with a brand new tool. Maybe that's unfair of me, but that's kind of how I work. So, you know, it's how it goes. And to that, I'm going to call it here. So if you're watching the VOD, thank you so much. If you're watching the highlights, which I'm going to try to get up going here tonight, I appreciate it. And GDevelop community, you are fantastic. I'm sorry that I'm not using the tools right. It's my bad. And it's a bummer because y'all are great. But it just ain't for me. But thanks for reaching out. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the tweets. Y'all are great. And until next time, everyone, have yourself a pleasant day and or evening. And I'll see you again later or another day. Bye-bye.